you guys, I'm Alex.
And I'm Phil.
And we get asked the question a lot, how in the world have we been able to afford our 2 adoptions and IVF?
Yes.
And so in this video, we want to talk to you guys a little bit on how we have made that happen.
Without being millionaires.
So over the past few years, we have actually gone through 2 adoption processes and IVF. And that is a lot of money.
It is.
It's a lot of money, huh?
It is a lot of money.
So how in the world did we make that happen?
You're gonna tell us.
Okay, we were actually very blessed in the sense that we were able to afford all of these big events in our life.
Yeah.
Okay, so how in the world did we have that kind of money laying around? With Kinsley, it was a 9-day adoption, and we did 0 fundraising.
Yeah.
When we first found out about our infertility, we both had jobs. We both were working full-time.
They call it DINK, dual income, no kids.
Yes, exactly. But we actually lived off of 1 income.
We've always been really frugal people. We've always said there's gonna be expenses in our life that we're gonna have to pay, and then there's gonna be expenses in our life that we don't have to pay. And so very early on in our marriage, we actually went through a financial freedom course that was done through Dave Ramsey. And we are totally believers of that system.
Yeah, we didn't follow it exactly. We are a little bit different than a exact by the book Dave Ramsey person.
But we did follow the principles, which was the first thing that you do in creating financial wealth that's long-term is you get out of debt. No matter what type of debt that you're in, you get out of debt first.
Yes.
Because debt will follow you and it will creep up on you and it'll get worse and worse and worse.
So next is that you want to have $1,000 in the bank, and then I believe then you have a 6-month savings is your
emergency
fund. And so we were really blessed because we lived super frugally and we lived off of 1 income. It was hard. The thing is, people feel like, well, that's so lucky, like you had the money in the bank for your first adoption. Well, that's because we worked really hard to make that happen.
It was a painful process.
So with our first adoption, we were very lucky, and it was technically a lower cost adoption. And so we were able to quickly, in 9 days, pay that out of pocket. So we were able to pay for our first adoption, and then we decided to move forward with IVF. Again, because we lived off of 1 income, it was really painful, the idea of pulling from savings to do IVF. It almost felt like I didn't want to do it. However, it was something that I was comfortable spending because I didn't want to look back in my life and say, what if we did it?
And it honestly, guys, like one of the things that I think is the biggest factor of being able to make that sacrifice is also realizing this child is going to be with you for life. So like, why would you go out and spend $25,000 on a car? Why would you not invest in your future that is your children?
Now that's partly why we moved forward with adoption first, because in the end, there was going to be a child. With IVF, it is uncertain.
Yes.
So that is also
very
good
uncertain
to know
and
going
very
into
scary.
it. Okay, so you can imagine at this point, even though we had lived off of 1 income, we saved my entire income for years. The only good thing about infertility is that it gave us more years of saving going into this process.
We just knew that we wanted a family. We didn't know that we were going to struggle with infertility. So it turned out to be a godsend and an amazing decision that we made to say, we're going to buy used clothes when we can. We're going to buy used things. We're not going to buy a ton of electronics. We're not going to go on massive vacations. And when we do, they're not going to be elaborate. We're going to go camping. And we decided to not eat out a ton. Like, we were gonna make more food. Like, if we had an opportunity to make a sandwich, we would do that. And so we made a lot of sacrifices early on in our marriage. So once we paid off debts, we stayed out of debt.
If you guys wanna hear our tips and tricks on how we lived frugally, leave it in the comments below and we can do a video on that. So going into our third big expense was our second adoption. So at this point, we felt we have really poured everything that we had to give to our children. And so at that point, we did ask for help. And we were able to successfully fundraise, not all, partly because we felt we still wanted to put some of our money directly towards Callies' adoption.
No question.
but we ended up raising a good chunk that made us be able to afford to adopt again.
If you guys want to hear actually the specifics of how we fundraised for Callies' adoption,
yes,
leave the comments below and we will put another video together for that. But
yeah,
all that to say, we raised about 2/3 of Callies' adoption. So the most important thing to get out of this video, as far as affording IVF or affording IUIs or affording any type of infertility treatments or affording adoption, is get out of debt, live below your means.
Yeah.
That is critical in order to grow your family.
Yep.
Is living below where you're currently at financially.
Yep.
Saving that up for your future kids. If you guys are in debt right now, you might be really discouraged to go, wow, that means I can't start a family. That's not necessarily true, but at least getting a plan in action, finding a financial advisor, finding someone that you can just like have these dialogues about the raw numbers of what's in your bank account and what isn't. So you guys, I hope that's encouraging to you. I hope that this is fun. And you guys, we have so much more on that topic, but we're just gonna call it a day right here.
Sounds
but
good.
We hope that you guys go and let your love multiply.
Bye, guys.
Bye.